unsure of on.
Yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Change Leadership Conversations. Great to have you on with us today. Hi, everybody. Excited to be having another Change Leadership Conversations. This usually happens on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And I'm so excited. We also launched our Change Leadership Conversations a couple of weeks ago. And so if you're a podcast person, go on to Spotify, go on to Apple Podcasts, and just check out some of our conversations, which we'll be sharing weekly. So we do have 3 episodes on there. So please go there and check it out. So if you're new to the Change Leadership, we're all about community. We have our conferences, we have our content, we have our courses, and of course, we're all about the C's. So, the 4 C's, and we do coaching and consulting as well. So welcome. I'm really excited about today's session. I'm always excited to be hanging out with our volunteers. We are in Volunteers Month, and before the month comes to an end, we always like to use this as an opportunity to spotlight the change leaders that are behind the scenes of the Change Leadership Conference, who are just doing phenomenal things for us. Let me just put it this way. Without our volunteers, there's no conference because this conference is 80% led by volunteers. And so if you're joining us, would love to continue to interact with you. Drop an emoji, tell us where you're joining us from. Wherever it is you're joining us from, Toronto, Greater Toronto, Canada, or just somewhere outside of Canada, the US, Africa, Europe. We want to know where you're joining us from, whether you're listening to the replay or you're listening to us live. Also, we love this to be an engaging session. So if you have any questions for us, by all means, please put the questions in the chat. If you have a comment, put it in as well. We're going to be looking at the comments as we go along. Okay, so back to our volunteers. What's exciting is that for each of the volunteers we have here today, they're in different spheres. So we have Muriel, who joined us last year as a volunteer, and she was just so phenomenal. So we're great to have you back. So she's going to be the lead with the volunteers of the day. So excited. We have Eniola, who's been volunteering with us from day one, and she is the director of logistics. So great to have you, Eniola, with us today. And we have Donner, who is on our board advisory and, started with us. She's been Donner like 4 years now.
Yeah. Yep.
In its 4th year.
Yeah.
And Lisa also joined us this year, and she is excited to have her. She's on the Change Awards committee. She's one of the leads on the Change Awards committee, which we started last year. So we're 2nd year in. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So one of the things, when we think of the word change leaders, it's often easy to associate it with position or title. And that's a myth that we're dispelling here at the Change Leadership. Being a change leader, leading change is not a role, it's not a title, but what we do, and it's a part of us. And again, that's why, we're excited this year to be bringing back the Change Leader Awards, for which nominations are now open. Actually, nominations are closing tomorrow. So we encourage you to nominate someone or nominate yourself. And these are the change leaders. They're the change catalysts behind the scenes of the Change Leadership Conference. So I'm going to get started a little bit, and in no particular order. Maybe start off with Eniola, because she's I wouldn't say oldie. Is it okay to say oldie, but always a newbie?
It doesn't sound right to say oldie.
It doesn't sound right to be saying oldie. Okay, giving us the longest.
Seasoned professional. How's that?
How about pioneered?
And honestly, the way you see us laughing on here, this is how all of our meetings are. We're just always having fun. There's always something to laugh about. We have fun while doing the volunteering and the work. So Eniola, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do on the Change Leadership Conference as a volunteer, and what other volunteer positions that you hold.
Okay, thanks, Yvonne, and thanks a lot for inviting me. Happy to join this discussion, which is, I'm sure, going to be quite exciting. So, for the Change Leadership Conference, primarily I focus on logistics. I do a few other things as well, but primarily around logistics, which means working with the audiovisual crew, the technology crew, working with every well, the vendors or the partners, and making sure that we all come together to bring forth the vision and provide a great change leadership experience on the day of. So working with behind the scenes means all the planning and making sure that all the infrastructure and everything works just so, and it's time to the millisecond, if we can put it that way.
Time to the millisecond. You need to see
Yes.
Eniola's TikTok. Oh my gosh, we have this long TikTok, which is what's happening by the minute, what's happening by the second. So if you've ever been part of the conference, believe me, every single thing is timed. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
everybody has their script. Like the AV people, this is what you should be following. It's
Correct.
literally a TikTok, TikTok, TikTok.
Yeah.
What should be happening, So great to have you here. And then
Thank
I'm
you.
going to flip it on the other side and just go with Lisa. Lisa, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do for the Change Leadership Conference and any other volunteer as a change leader behind the scenes.
Thank you for having me. I'm Lisa Bayshard. I started volunteering for the Change Leadership Awards in January of this year. And what I've been doing, working with the team, and including my partner in crime, Rakumi, who is not with us today, we've been working really hard to automate a lot of the processes for the nominations, the emails that go out, the documents that the judges need to complete, and even or automating the totals to which will determine who are the runner-ups and ultimately the winner. So been doing a lot of work on that, which has been great, and we've been working very closely, obviously not only with Yvonne but Jennifer from a marketing perspective, and also our developer Ali, who has been very patient with us as we work through what our requirements have been.
And Lisa, what's interesting is that you have been an attendee at the Change Leadership
Yes,
Conference a
yes,
while back.
yes, yes. I was at it was at the Mars Center.
Yes.
I'm thinking 2017, 18.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
When we had one to do with industrial revolution or IT and robotics, because I was looking, you're in one of the pictures, so I know you're on there,
yeah,
so you being in the front scene, seeing what happens on the conference, now you're behind the scenes in terms of
yes,
what's happening,
yes.
So, hey, everybody, if you're just joining us, we're doing some introductions, getting to meet the change leaders who are leading change from behind the scenes. It's volunteer month, and we want to put a spotlight on the people who make change happen in the conference. And then I'm going to flip over to Mural.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to join this live session in LinkedIn. Well, I started as a volunteer last year, so I work closely with Enyola and Jennifer. So we made sure that everything's ready for the conference. I met Donna last year too. I had the privilege of working with her as a volunteer. I learned a lot from her and also from Enyola, who make sure that everything's being covered, making sure that everybody's accommodated and taken care of. So I'm happy that I'm with Change Leadership again as one of the volunteers and again one of the ambassadors. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. And
Thank you.
Donna.
Yes, and thank you. That was really kind, Muriel. And I was going to say that everybody, it's been such a great group to work with every year, which is why I keep coming back. And Lisa, welcome aboard. Really
Thank
glad
you.
that you're with us now. Yeah, so I've had a few different roles, I guess, over the years, but so this year, a big focus is more helping with some of the programming, seeing getting people on board for some of the speakers and some of the events that you'll be seeing. helping with the planning, social media, making sure that things get promoted through my social networks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to actually being at the conference this year, day of. And yeah, like Muriel said, lots of work on the day of the conference, just helping out with the
Okay, thank you all. So I'm going to put you all on the spot because we say you're leading change behind the scenes. So, and going back to you, Aniola, as a volunteer behind the scenes, do you see yourself as a change leader?
Absolutely.
Okay. Of course.
You know
Why,
what?
okay, so why do you see yourself as a change leader now that you say of course?
Most definitely. I mean, even if it's a change leader for a day, but I still see myself as a change leader. But definitely, as it relates to the conference and putting
As a
it all
volunteer, not
together
just no, so not
in my
necessarily as
life,
a
in my
conference,
day, in my
but
daily life.
as a volunteer in other things you do,
Oh yeah,
and you can also share any other volunteer positions you do. So do you
absolutely.
see yourself as a leader when you are
Absolutely.
volunteering behind the
Oh
scenes?
yeah, absolutely. So if even outside of the conference, but volunteering in the conference, it's all about leading by influence.
Mm,
And a change leader, you don't have to necessarily lead from the front. You can also lead from behind.
mm,
It's all about influencing people and getting them to effect the come up creates the most desirable outcome
mm,
in this change that we're walking through. So the Change Leadership Conference is one example. Another example would be other volunteering places that I've worked in, either in the hospital or working in the food bank. People go through change in their lives. And in that instance, another attribute of a change leader is extending empathy.
mm,
Empathy and helping people that you're working with through the change that they're walking through. And
mm,
so, walking, leading through influence, leading through empathy, those are
mm.
two key roles that I would say definitely I use when seeing myself as a change leader. And of course, in my day job, I also see myself definitely as a change leader, but I'll stop for now. I'll let other people talk.
So I'm going to switch the questions up a little, but before I switch it off, Donna, do you see yourself as a change leader?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as
So actually, I
you
want to switch it up a little bit. I want
yeah,
you to take it up a little because I know a little bit about your background, and I said, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you all just told me about the volunteering, so I'm going to pull out a little bit for you in the background. So you are really into, sustainability, climate change, and all of that. So tell us how you're even leading change in that space.
yeah, I think that's such a critical skill to have and build on in my field. Uh, we all know about climate change, sustainability, but people don't necessarily know what to do with it. It is a
Mm,
big change for so many people. So that's why I started taking actual change management courses, which is how we met. Yvonne was a great mentor for me in my early years with this. And even though I don't have that title, it is such a critical piece of what I do to help people move through that change. And like Eniola said, yeah, that influence kind of role is so critically important. So both corporately, we don't have authority over departments. We need everybody to work together. So that influential role really, again, that empathy, compassion, helping people move through it, figuring out what they need to make those changes. Same thing in the community, even less control over that, but we really need to help community move through some of the changes that we're going to need to make as a society to really
mm,
get us to where we need to be. So absolutely. And I love the Change Leadership Conference because it does cover so many different topics that I don't necessarily get exposed to in my work, like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, some of the changing areas for the world of work. So I can bring that also back
mm.
to my job. And I think it really helps, connect with people and start to bring also some of these new technologies, new concepts into my work as well.
Yeah. So Donna, I'm going to come back to you
Yep.
so that I don't put you too much on the
Okay.
spot. But when I would really look at, I'm thinking, how do you, like when we think about change, leading change, one of the easiest methods to do to lead change, I would say, is when you focus on the what's in it for me. So what's in it for them, and sometimes when people can see that very big tangible benefit of the change, why they need to do it, it's easy for them to come on board. But in what you're doing around climate change and sustainability, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes it feels intangible because it's almost like not in my backyard
Yep.
yet. you know so maybe just think about this a little bit. But the question I want to come back to you on is, how do you see yourself, or in your area and field, how are people driving change in that sustainability perspective type of thing? And I know, like you personally, one of the things you do in volunteer, I'll tell you all a nice quick story about Donna. So I moved about 2 years ago to a different new place. And when I moved here, it was like a total new development, but in front of us, there were trees, the birds were there. It was already a developed area. And then when Donna found that we had moved, she said, "Oh, I remember that. We came to plant trees and we came to do all of these things." So the beauty that we see now, where we can see these trees, the really tall trees, mature trees, we see plants, we see vegetation, we see forestation and all of that, was because of the willingness of volunteers such as Donner to say that I'm not going to live in that area. I have nothing to do with that area, but they still decided to volunteer their time for people they don't even know to create, to help with climate action, to help with sustainability and all of those things. Those are the kind of things that the beauty of having volunteers, in terms of the work that it is they do. So Donna, I'll come back to you. Let me jump to Lisa.
Okay.
Lisa, your background is you're a change practitioner, you're a change leader, so when you look at you being a change practitioner in the workplace and you're leading, not only you're leading change, you're managing change, what are some of those skills that you've taken from there to be a volunteer, whether in change leadership conference or any other work you do, how you're applying that?
What I find in any situation, whether or not you're volunteering or you're in the workplace or you're just dealing with a change on your personal life, is building the relationships with the people that you're working with, so you can build that trust and then you can start influencing the change. I find that is critical, and I know, like, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've done a lot of contract work where you come in for 6 months to a year and your contract's over. And what I find in many situations is organizations are not following any particular structure in terms of leading change. So I always try to build the relationships. My goal initially is to become best friends with the project manager, because I feel that the project manager and the change manager need to be working always in sync, completely collaboratively, whether it's communications, process maps, whatever you might need to be doing. If you're working in sync with the project manager, not only does that allow the project to go more smoothly, but, and here's a key thing, when the other stakeholders, whether it's a client-based stakeholder or perhaps the steering committee, see you and the project manager working together as a collaborative team, they feel like they can trust you. You've got that trust, then they start listening to you. And then you can start doing that influencing to move the change forward, with new ideas to make things easy for the people who are impacted. Because, in a lot of times the change, there isn't that much in terms of the what's in it for me. Maybe it's a regulatory change and it just has to be done. So then the goal is, how can we make this as easy as possible? And I find using that, always having that in the back of my mind, the end user, and making sure their job is not going to be impacted too heavily by the change, and hopefully it'll be easier then
And yeah, and I see you bringing that in because Lisa's number one priority. I'm telling you, behind the scenes with the Change Leader Awards is when she's looking at the scoring sheet. How can we make the scoring easier? How can we make this more automated so that it's easier on the judges? You know, and Yola was part of building it last year. So and Yola, you'd be surprised to see where they've taken it
Yeah.
to. This year. So Lisa and Rikeme have been very instrumental in trying to say, how can we make the nomination process for, first of all, the folks who are nominating, the nominees who are completing the application, and the judges who are in the on the committee. How can we make the whole experience so much better? So thank you for bringing in that experience, that you have as a change practitioner and applying it as a volunteer in the change leadership. Really appreciate it. And then I'm going to go to Mural. Mural. So, how do you see yourself leading change? Because you came in last year,
Mhm.
decided to come back this year, and I'm always in awe and humbled, I see volunteers come back each year after year.
Mhm.
So coming in, how do you see yourself as a change leader and leading change? And I know you're a leader because the first time I met Mural, which was actually a day before the conference, and we're doing the VIP boxes, arranging things, Mural just literally took control. She just led the entire thing, was
Yeah.
making things happen. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just so fantastic. So I know you're a leader. So, you coming back, how do you see yourself as a change leader within behind the scenes as a volunteer and any other area that you volunteer as well?
Well, for somebody who started with you last year, and I work with my classmates.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
technically, I'm one of the oldest students in our class. So
Mm.
they're technically my children. It's not that it's not that they see me as their mom, but I was able to reach out and tap to their inner self.
Okay.
So it's easier when we were asked to do something and like, okay, let's do this so that we can finish faster, and then we can make sure that everything's okay for the conference tomorrow. And I don't know, they just follow me, and I really appreciate them because they, I don't know, probably is the mom in me, and not
Amir, I
just.
can tell you it's not the mommy you. Some moms will tell you their kids don't listen to them.
But that's the point. I'm not their mom, but they can see me as a mom, which they can reach out to and share technically everything.
Okay. So yeah, okay.
You see that there's a difference between being their actual mom and their stage mom.
Donna is rolling her eyes because she knows what it is to be a mom. She's like, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard being a mom, but when you gain their trust, just like what Lisa is sharing a while ago, when you gain their trust, they trust you, and they trust you that you're leading them to the right path,
I like
so
that. It's the trust you were
yes.
able to leverage the capital, that's investment of trust. So they
Mhm.
trust you. So
Mhm.
I like that, when you're in working with people and with a group, so that trust
Mhm.
that you've been able to build with them, it's now easier to take that and lead them because they believe in you as a leader. They're bought into you as a leader.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier, and just sharing your past experiences with them, they learn a lot from you. You
Mm,
know, they learn a lot, and that they know that you're sharing it from what you have experienced before means a lot to them, because you're not sharing it from the books. You're
mm,
sharing it out of your life experiences. And that's,
mm.
something that they will
They'll take.
learn. They'll take from you.
So, what made you decide to come back this year, and what is it that what skills would you say you're gaining as being a volunteer? Because one of the things that is really important to us in the change leadership is we believe in like 360. Our attendees and participants getting value, our team members getting value, our volunteers getting value, our speakers, are they getting value? Our
Mhm.
partners, are they getting value? Our
Mhm.
sponsors, are they getting value? It's a 360 thing. So not
Mhm.
never really about saying, oh, what can they give, but what can they take, from the
Mhm.
experience as well. So when you think about that, what experience would you say that, you're taking from it, because it was good to have you and all of your colleagues and the students who came to volunteer. You guys are such an awesome folks. So shout out to you and the team.
Well, I can say that from most of us, we're most of us are coming back. You know,
Hmm.
the volunteers from last year, we're back this year. So we know that we are not just giving something, not literally taking something in return, but what we really like is what we are giving out as a
Mm.
volunteer. You know, it's I believe it's a shared passion for
Hmm.
those who are coming back as a volunteer, that it's not that what we can take, it's something
Mm.
that we can always give, and
Mm.
it's a good feeling. It's just
Yes.
a good feeling, you know, not getting something literally, just but sharing whatever we can share,
Yeah.
making sure that the conference will be okay this year, just like
Awesome. So I'm glad
last
you
year.
guys had a good experience to want to come back. I had a good feeling. And you're like, you've been doing it from like day one. Why do you
Yeah.
keep coming back? What would you say you've gained from being a volunteer that you keep coming back? As a
Um,
leader, because you've given so much as a leader, like you say, you lead with influence, you make everything happen. So what have you gained as a volunteer?
Over the years, I've learned a lot
Hmm.
from volunteering at the Change Leadership. Um, Definitely working with people, different types of people, that everybody just comes together to make this whole vision and experience work. So definitely you have to scramble, well, not scramble, but you have to lean on your skills to see how is your best way of collaborating with this person in order to bring about what you want.
Mm.
But aside from that, I have learned, I have grown in terms of um, exposure working with the speakers,
Mm.
because you have opportunities of networking as well
Mhm.
with speakers, networking with the attendees. One thing that makes me come back each year is what I've seen growing in the community. More especially, the most recent one was last year, where in the conference, it just so feels like family, like a big family, where before the conference starts and everybody's networking and talking, you really have to get their attention. Okay, guys, let's get started. Let's get started. Because
I remember
everybody
we had
is
to break
looking
a
to
party,
make
like,
the
okay,
day.
let's get started.
Yes, everybody, we have to take, they're taking pictures with each other. They haven't seen each other for the last 1 year and all of that. But aside from that, the other way that I've learned is the way I look at it for myself is I look at it as sort of like a 1 day executive learning program, is the
Mm.
way that I treat it for myself. Because the speakers and the caliber of speakers that come when they share the different experiences and real experiences in their organizations, that is actually filled with actionable steps that I'm able to take away and apply to my day-to-day life. And so the way that I look at it is, and it's across a broad sphere of industry. And so I'm always excited to learn about technology, learn about sustainability. I learn more about sustainability from the conference than from anywhere else because it's outside of my normal sphere of interest. But I learn about technology, artificial intelligence, disruption, and change tools, and what I can take away to apply in my day to day job. So I treat it as a day of learning for myself. I treat it as a day of personal development for myself. Aside from the fun part, which involves working with everybody that I meet maybe the day before or on the day of. And I also love one thing I really, really like about working with all the other volunteers there, as well as the professionals, is the professionalism.
Mm.
The volunteers attend to this just like it were their job, or even better than their job, like something that they're paid for. The professionalism is just out of this world, and everybody is really pulling together to put together a fantastic experience. So I don't know. I've said so many things. I'm hoping somebody can grab something out of that. I just keep showing up. I mean, any one of these is the reason why I keep showing up every year.
Thank you so much. And as we listen and go along, I know we might lose Daniela in a second. I did say, yeah, we'll have a 12:30 hard stop, but we're probably going to be wrapping
Yes, I
up in
do.
about 10 minutes. And if anybody has a comment for our volunteers, I see some great comments there. We have folks from Toronto who joined us. I see the GTA, Daria, Nelly, with us, so welcome everybody who's joining us. If you're just joining us, drop an emoji, tell us where you're joining us from. We want to connect with you. And if you have any comments for our volunteers, volunteer month, please drop a message for them or ask them a question, to see what behind the scenes it's like. And whether I'm always all smileys could be a good question. Is it not always smiley and Donner, I want to come back to you to that question that I asked, in terms of, you can answer it along those lines in terms of how you're able to lead change that may seem intangible or people may not see what it is in it for them. And you can all feel free to answer the question that I posed to Aniela. It's in terms of why do you keep on coming back each year? Or what have you been able to get as a volunteer as well, in terms of what you do?
Okay.
So loaded. So
I
like
know.
go ahead.
I have to keep this tight. Yeah, I was going to say that, gosh, I've been really, I have switched jobs in the last little over a year ago, and I'm so fortunate to work with a really great team that really embodies change leadership. So it's been really great for my learning. One thing that I've seen a lot of in the approach, that idea of trying to get people on board with things that maybe are a little less tangible. The work that we've been doing has worked really hard at getting like that what's in it for me concept. So really working to make those connections with people to build it into their work. So it's not I'm putting my project onto you and I expect you to join me. It's like, what do I need to get done? Like these are these things that we need to have on our that we need to get done. And then looking and really understanding and listening to the people that we're working with and trying to get them on board. Where are those connections and lining those up so that we can go, hey, you need to get this done. Here's how we can work together and get your things done as well in a much better way. And I'm also one thing that as we were talking too, that kind of occurred to me that I think we really do and is so important, that idea about collective action. And I think a little bit of, it's not just change management, because that's a part in culture kind of change, which I think we really need to kind of get back to just overall. So it's not just what's in it for me, because that's kind of the starting point. But then it's a what's in it for us. And starting to shift that over. So because that's so important. And that's everything that we've talked about too, is connection. And at the end of the day, we start with ourselves, but what's so important is connection and figuring out how we make those. And so when we can show how it's a single kind of a thing that then works up into, hey, we're doing all of this together, it really helps build a lot more momentum. Takes longer, but I think that's really important. Yeah, so if you start planting that idea, going back to what you're saying, yeah, there's some trees and that brings it to you, but then that starts to get maybe you involved, and it's, oh, this is a beautiful place. Now we've got a little bit of that kernel going. I enjoy it. I want to share this with others. I know what's gone into it. So now I'm going to start doing some work, and it starts to bring others into that. So yeah, it's those kinds of concepts that I think are so important. And it's actually why I'll just end with saying that's kind of why I keep coming back to the change leadership. It was about a personal sort of an idea to get involved with change management. And then I start to see how many good things are coming out of the whole concept of change leadership, all the work that you're doing. And it's really good to feel like a part of something that's building something collectively. Yeah, so I think that's a really big piece of why I keep coming back.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And, if there's one thing and so many other things I'm going to take out of this conversation is what's in it for us. It's starting to move to that collective, and, and it's really part and parcel of what even, Mira was saying, where she was saying it's coming back, it's us, it's a collective,
Mhm.
when we think about it, and when we start to think about ourselves as collective and going away from the me to even the us in terms of why we do
Mhm.
this. And the conference, the change leadership, and it's really about us as a whole. We're very big on community. And when we think about when change is done right, not only does it impact an organization positively on their ROI, but it impacts the community positively, the employees positively. It makes a difference. All you have to see is when change goes wrong and how it impacts people, to know that when it goes right, there's a greater and wider benefit to it. So we're rounding up, we're wrapping up, so everybody can start to get their one final takeaway they want to give everybody as we wrap up. But Lisa, I want to ask you, since you're one of the newest, in terms of why you joined the change leadership, and what you see yourself. You've shared with us some of the things that you're giving, and you're doing great work to give, but what's your experience been like in terms of what you've been able to, the feeling, or what you've been able to get from it? We know it's not about what you're getting, it's about what you're giving, but what are you also?
Now, I'm actually really happy that you asked me that question because, over the last 8 months, I've been through some significant personal change. And, if you were to use the ProSci ADKAR model, I was stuck in the awareness stage, just actually being aware that, oh, that just happened. And then, working through, okay, I need to get through this. And so, when I volunteered, Yvonne, because, I have a lot of respect for you. And when you sent out the notice looking for volunteers, I'm like, I can do this. This will give me something to concentrate on other than everything else that's going on in my life. And it's been a really great experience. And I think the biggest thing that I've gained from it is a sense of renewed confidence.
Mm.
Because I think when you go through significant change, you're on shaky ground for a while, and it takes a while to like kind of get back to yourself. And I feel like I'm smiling again, so that's a good thing. And so yeah, and working with you, and now that we've got the judges and seeing their perspective on the awards, and of course working with Rakumi, and how we've developed an amazing relationship to get things done. So it's been great from that perspective, and I thank you for accepting me as part of the team.
Thank you, thank you. It's been phenomenal, like having you all on the team. Like when I count my blessings, when I look back, with gratitude, and when I write it in my journal, I'm thankful for each one of you. And I like, I think I look up to God and say, God, what did I do to deserve this? So really grateful for you all, because I think like pinch me, that's how I feel, with all of the support that we get from the volunteers, you all, and folks that are not even on the call, so shout out to all of our volunteers, and shout out to even Jennifer, who's on the team, who helped organize this, like,
Yes.
Rukeme, Rebecca, who is working behind the scenes, Amanda, who is working behind the scenes, even she's on the advisory board as well. Georgina too, who has been part of this. I mean, I can start mentioning all kinds of names, but everybody that just keeps on coming back, our previous volunteers, like, it's just been amazing. So I need you all like to think about one word as we wrap up. What's that one word, or two words, or three words that you want to end with? I see some great words, in the comments already. We have like Veronica talks about positive collaboration. Dalia talks about mirror leading with empathy, to inspire people. So really some great comments. So, keep showing dropping the comments on there, and dropping your emojis and all of it on there. Daria has been a volunteer as well, so if y'all ever seen the onboarding presentation when volunteers come on board, or when we do our status updates, like at the big, it was Daria actually who designed the onboarding presentation. So thank you, Daria, for being part of this and the building of the Change Leadership Conference and all that we do. And you're going to see the links if anybody is watching the replay. You're going to see the links to the awards. Tomorrow is the last day to nominate and recognize somebody. When you nominate somebody, it's about recognizing them as a change leader and the great work that they're doing, whether the youth category, community, innovator, DEIB, sustainability, in terms of the work they're doing, and even change leader excellence, so recognize somebody. And we hope to see you all at the conference, so you get to meet our volunteers, this great bunch of people, and they're as nice as you see on the screen, real authentic. You will find Donner in the after networking session, I must say.
Actually, I was going to say that it was great. Met some really great people last year, and we actually had an after party at one of the local establishments. And it was great. And I've met quite a few of them again throughout the year. So it's been really good.
Yes, honestly, I wish I could have some more of Donna's networking, but my ambivert introverted self,
we'll bring you along.
Yeah, drag me screaming and kicking, Muriel, what do you want to end on? What's that 1, 2, 3 words you want to end on?
Leading change by example, not only in what you do, but also when it comes to sharing what you have learned from your experiences.
Yes. Leading change by example, and you're an embodiment of leading change by an example. And thank you. Like, honestly, I can say that, Eniola, what about you?
So you said 2 words or 3 words, and then I couldn't limit it to that. And I thought since Muriel had like 20 or 30 words in her, so I just want to say that change can be done right. And every year we keep on showcasing through the conference how change can be done right. And we hope to keep on doing so to show how change can be done right.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, and thank you for continuing to lift the standards that we hold on the conference. So thank you. Donner?
I'd say don't be afraid of change. Like that whole thing, and it's such a good thing to remember. I know it's a couple more than 20, 30 words, but I'll be really quick. All of the same physical responses that we get when we're afraid are the same things that we get when we're excited. So if you keep that in mind and it's just a bit of a mind shift, and change can be really exciting, turn into really good things. And so, just don't be afraid. And I think things like the Change Leadership Conference really help cement that it's exciting. There can be really great things that come out of it.
Thank you. So 2 things on that, Donner. I love your courage. Donna gives me courage, honestly. So I learn from her. So I learn from absolutely everybody. So Donna gives me courage. And Donna, look what your partner in crime does shared, or your partner in. Rebecca, she said, I'm looking forward to the impromptu after party again.
Everyone's invited. And you know what? The after party, not to downplay the Change Leadership Conference, but that can be pretty exciting too. The after party, unless you're at the conference.
Okay, and then Dalia just said something. I wanted to model the behavior you want to see in others. Really cool, and I think that was the Muriel's one. And Lisa, what say your 2 1 words? I'm it's not going to be 2 1 words because the other people have not led by example.
No. I think the greatest thing about the conference, and for me working on the awards, is letting people out there know that you don't need the title change manager or change lead to actually lead change. And I really think that that's reflected not only in what's happening in the conference, but from an awards perspective. You've got that youth category, which I personally love, even though we need to expand that one, because I think letting the young people know that they can lead change
Mm.
um, will then lead to other changes like sustainability and community and innovation, etc. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and you know what? Anybody listen to what Lisa said. If you know some young person that is doing something fantastic, and that you look at them and you say, "Wow, this person is really doing something great in leading change in whatever it is that they're doing," go out there, nominate them. The deadline is tomorrow, but nominate them because they are the future. You know, when we have TKS, which is the Knowledge Society, they're coming back, great young activators doing this great stuff in technology. You know, when we shine a light on what it is that they're doing, I know, or when I see them, I know the future can only be brighter. On that note, 12:45. I think we're good. I'm excited to say, let us bring this to a wrap. You know, excited for the conference. You guys have given me, inspired me today. You've motivated me and excited, and we're counting down literally 29 more days to go. 29 more days. Thank you, everybody. And for everybody
All
listening,
right.
as you sign off, drop an emoji in there for us. You know, drop a smiley, one word, an emoji. Let's know you connected with us today. And if you're listening to the replay, also drop an emoji, drop a one word. Let us know that you listened today. Give a kind word and a nice word for our volunteers. I'm grateful to have you all. So, you all have a great rest of the day and great rest of the week. And see you all
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye for now.
All
Thank
right.
You.
All right.
you.
Take care.
See
Bye.
you. See you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye.